was called Seminole Nation versus Norton. Norton was the head of the Department of Interior. The freedmen are reinstated in the U.S. restores federal funding in 2002 out of these two cases. These cases were really clear because the same arguments were made by the Seminole Nation that are being made by the Cherokee Nation, and they were shot down across the board. Number one, the treaty was still in full force and effect. They could not amend their constitution to change it. They still had to deal with it. When they didn't, that put them out of compliance, and the government relationship was cut off. The Cherokee Constitution of 1976, which did have the freedmen in it, which was determined by the Judicial Appeals Tribunal, the Cherokee Court, to include both blood and freedmen rolls. And I'll put it this way: historically, as far back as 1975 or 6, when they started doing this, freedmen were given blood cards. I have a client today that holds her card like a piece of jewelry and shows it her blue card. It requires the President of the United States or his designee to approve any amendment to the Constitution. The Cherokee chief requested the ability to amend the Cherokee Constitution to remove oversight in 2003. This was just mere months after the second Seminole decision came down. The Assistant Secretary of the BIA at that time was McCaleb. He responded yes to the amendment with conditions that the freedmen must vote. If approved, they can't remove the freedmen, and the Principal Chiefs Act requires approval of the Cherokee voting laws before any election. So in 2003 election, following this, the Cherokee Cherokee Constitution and elect officials, they denied the freedmen the right to vote, and the Cherokees did not submit their voting laws to the BIA. Next slide. So what happens in May of 2003, the BIA office, Dennis Springwater, informed the Cherokee Nation that Seminole Nation versus Norton required approval of the Cherokee voting laws for the principal chief. On July 11th, BIA official Jeanette Hine asked for voting laws. On the 25th of that month, she takes the position that the election for chief is not valid because the voting requirements were not submitted or approved pursuant to the Principal Chiefs Act, and states review of the constitutional amendment is ongoing. She states the situation was identical to the Seminole Freedmen situation. And she cites Wheeler versus the Department of Interior, which holds that the Interior cannot interfere with elections without specific law. States the Principal Chief Act was such a law, and it contains the signature. However, here's where the lobbying comes in. In August of that, the BIA letter with her signature stamp reverses the position, citing the same Wheeler case, and therefore the United States recognized that election of the chief, but not the Constitution. Next slide, please. So we file a lawsuit under a couple of things. It's called Van versus Kemp.